Ooh, Egyptian mummies and pyramids. At what point can it be said that man truly understood what it meant to die? It would seem reasonable to suggest that it was when he began to bury his dead, a practice which originated with the Neanderthals. In a way, one might say that our growing understanding of death drove our development as a species. Our fear of it, our attempts to conquer it, why, it could be argued our entire history revolves around these obsessions. Take the Great Pyramids of Egypt, or the tombs of the ancient emperors of China. The more powerful the person, the bigger and grander their final resting place. Or, to posit a more radical theory, could the very concepts of power and society themselves have emerged solely to facilitate the creation of such monuments, such challenges to the finality of death? Either way, in leaving behind something they hoped might endure through the ages, the builders of these edifices believed that they too might live on forever. The mummies of the Egyptians are another means by which man sought to fulfill this desire to escape the finality of death. They were created that the spiritual self, the Ka, would have a physical vessel, or Ha, to which it could return. The Sokushinbutsu, or mummified monks of Buddhism, are similar in this respect. However, the monks in question aim to transition straight from life to Buddhahood, in other words, to forego death altogether. But now that the beach has brought us into direct contact with the world beyond, our relationship with death must further evolve. The next stage in our understanding is upon us. The corals of the sea. Life began in the oceans, and as it evolved, it graduated to the land. At least, this is what was believed until recently. To creatures of the sea, the land is a harsh and unforgiving place. Given this, what could possibly have compelled these organisms to make such a drastic transition? Consider that fossils of the first fish to adapt themselves to land have been found in regions with unusually large tidal range. Could it be that these creatures developed legs in order to more swiftly return to the safety of the sea when stranded? Stranded? Could their evolutionary leap have been triggered by this traumatic experience? If so, could similar circumstances have shaped the evolution of the coral-like organisms that inhabit the sea, and driven them to develop an ability to live between life and death, between time and timelessness? Coral is, after all, older than any organism of the land, and hardly enough to have weathered the mass extinction of 540 million years ago. And it is a life form upon which many other organisms rely for survival. Bearing all this in mind, one could argue that the ability to survive in the sea is indicative of a profound evolutionary leap.
Thanks. Take care.
So does this mean that people with dooms, or like the what do they call them? The things that Sam Porter is and Die Hard Man, I forget. But you know, the people who can come back from the dead. Is that just like the next step of human evolution? Is that what he's saying? I don't know, maybe.
Sam, Mama here. Up for performing an experiment with hematic grenades? Heartman tells me they can drive BTs back to the other side. At which point, the ambient chiralium in the surrounding area should crystallize. It's the resulting crystals that I'm after. I'd like you to bring them in for study. So, to recap, take out a BT using hematic grenades and collect any chiral crystals that form when it dies. Afterwards, bring the chiral crystals to Capital Knot's Western Distro Center. It's a lot to ask, I know, but I wouldn't...
The BTs are reaching out to us. 2.4 million years ago, Homo habilis started to craft stone tools. Hands are so very important, don't you think? Our other sensory organs passively interpret data. Our eyes light, our ears sound, our noses smell, our mouths taste. But hands are different. To touch requires conscious action. To grasp, more so. To connect that which is in our left hand with that which is in our right, still more. And the handprints we see when BTs seek out humans, why, I'd say that's just evidence of our otherworldly friends yearning to forge a connection. You're going crazy, Heartman. I'm not sure that's true. They're reaching out to us, attempting to bridge the gap between realm of the dead and that of the living. Alright, that's it for Heartman for now, but we got some more stuff. Mama. Let's see. Before the first expedition's departure, so this is an old message. So the core infrastructure is complete. The basic Cupid-ready chiral network setup is good to go. Now all we have to do is connect central Knot City to capital and prove that it actually works. Sadly, I won't be here to see it. I've been assigned to the expedition team's second group, so I'll be heading west with the others. But the people in charge here are the best of the best. They'll have the network operational inside of 3 years, just as planned, I'm sure of it. And while they're seeing to that, we'll be visiting towns and whatnot across the country and putting facilities in place for when things are finally up and running. Amelie and the others in the lead group will be forging the connections and laying the groundwork to make sure everything goes to plan. Afterward, we'll just need to link it all up with operational Cupids, and that should be that. It's kind of like the Apollo missions back in the day. They used a 3-stage rocket to get to the moon, right? Well, we're using a 3-stage process to do something almost as revolutionary. Alright, so 3 years between the different expeditions. So it's been a while since Amelie went west. Okay, Chiral Network 2. In a way, the Chiral Network makes use of the beach to allow us to travel through time. See, sending large amounts of data takes large amounts of time, as you'd expect. But the thing about beaches is, well, time doesn't pass the same way in them as it does out here. Might not even pass at all. Think about how the light from the stars in the sky we see was produced thousands and thousands of years ago. Routing data through the beach is like jumping to a point earlier in that journey, thereby cutting it shorter. Much shorter. Just imagine, massive amounts of data transferred almost instantaneously. That's what we're trying to achieve with the chiral network, in a nutshell. In theory, the network allows us to reconstruct old data that would otherwise be lost, and to do so with fragmented resources. Using what's known as Evo-Devo analysis, we could take the finger bone of a dinosaur, say, and extrapolate from that not only the dinosaur's form, but its composition. Internal, external, even its thought processes to a degree. Just to a degree? Anything's possible with chiral computing. In other words, we won't just be able to reunite the nation, we'll be able to reclaim everything we lost in Death Stranding. More even. Theoretically, we could go back as far as the birth of the planet and beyond. And thanks to the beach, we'll be able to compile all that data in one place and reduce the processing time for even the most complex analysis to effectively zero. Alright, so by tapping into an alternate reality where time doesn't pass, we can basically have computing of infinite speeds, right? Okay. Sure. I accept the idea of what they're saying, even if it's nonsense. That's fine. Alright, let's jump to Fragile. Let's see, 2 years ago, Lake Knot City. When I was a little girl, my father told me that preppers were people who decided long ago that they couldn't trust their nation to be there for them anymore. That the bonds between us had grown weak long before the Death Stranding. We once had a network spanning the whole wide world that could send items from anywhere to anywhere and connect anyone with anything. But still we were isolated. Still we were alone. Some liked it that way, and even wanted more. They wanted walls along their borders, wanted to turn away refugees and outsiders. Some even wanted new nations all to their own. They began to see the state as an enemy of their freedom, not a protector of it. The ones most far gone, they didn't trust the country to defend them if something went really wrong. War, terrorism, natural disaster, you name it. So they built shelters and stocked full of supplies in preparation for the worst. And then the worst happened. The Death Stranding. America ceased to exist, and their shelters became their homes, where they would live and where they would die. But while they'd prepared, they hadn't prepared to live there forever, which is why they wound up relying on us couriers so heavily. My father and I didn't want to go back to the old America. We didn't want a country that pushed people apart. We wanted one that brought them together, that allowed them to support one another, and that was what we tried to work toward. Okay. Ooh, cryptobiotes. We call these bugs cryptobiotes. They were recorded in reference books and databases back before the Death Stranding, but nobody ever thought to give them a proper classification, so cryptobiotes they stayed. They're named for the process of cryptobiosis, which means hidden life. When environmental conditions get too harsh, harsh or resources too scarce. Cryptobiotes can shut down their metabolic processes and enter an almost death-like state in order to survive. Tardigrades and sleeping chironomids are capable of this too, but cryptobiotes are on a whole nother level. They can survive anything and anywhere, even on the beach or in the sea. And they aren't capable of prolonging only their own lives. Humans who eat them acquire a limited resistance to timefall too. Oh, so that's why she's always gobbling them down, because otherwise she'd be dead. You won't find them lying around just anywhere though, you need to know where to look. Not many people even knew they existed until recently, so next to no research has been done. But now that their beneficial properties have been recognized, I'm willing to bet they'll play an important role in helping us to understand the beach, the Death Stranding, and everything else. They're grubs though. Let's leave the science stuff to the science people. I think that's better. Okay. Bridges staff. 2 years ago. Distribution center west of Capital Knot City. It's been about a year now since we came here with the rear guard. The first folks through did us the favor of setting up the chiral relay and patching things up before we arrived, so we're doing alright. Not so sure about everyone else though. Folks back home sound kinda freaked out. We don't know what's going on in Central or Capital, let alone how Amelie and the others who kept heading west are doing, but something doesn't feel right. What's more, a lot of the guys have developed some kind of agoraphobia, like the thought alone of going outside scares the shit out of them. See, the distro centers and way stations around these parts here aren't like the ones back east. They're much more isolated, out in the middle of nowhere. Can't help but feel cut off from the world. And there's not a lot of staff on hand either, which means you often have to do the work of 2 guys, which can make it that much lonelier too. And then you factor in the terrorism rumors. Also, is it just me, or does it feel like there's more mules out here these days? Don't get me wrong, I know they're not out to get us. All they want is our cargo, right? Well, that doesn't change the fact that they're not making our work any easier. Especially since a lot of these guys used to be first-rate porters and could run rings around us if they hadn't, you know. Still, for now, the network systems are up and running, and we're just holding out for the day when the second expedition comes through with a working Cupid. Till then, we'll keep things chugging along. That much we can do, for bridges and country, am I right? Oh, okay, so the second expedition was supposed to bring the Cupids, but they didn't? I'm not sure. Or like, was there never a second expedition? It's also confusing. Let's read about timefall and power failures. I volunteered, it's Igor, 3 years ago. I volunteered to join Bridges. Signed up with my brother Victor. See, we both remembered when America was still America. When we still had planes and satellites. When we were still connected to everyone and everything. The world was different. Bigger. And we wanted it back. He was chosen for the first expedition and hit the road damn near straight away. Me, I got told to hang back here in Central. Which was okay, I guess. Corpse disposal means taking your fair share of timefall in the line of duty. You get a sense for it after a while. A sixth sense for when the clouds are about to open up. Of course, the clouds themselves are a big tell, and an inverse rainbow's a guarantee you're in for some shit. But there are smaller signs too. Changes in the air. A smell on the wind. When it hits, you've got power outages to deal with. Far as I understand it, which ain't all that far, it's to do with high concentrations of chiralium causing electromagnetic interference or something, which also interacts with water and kicks up clouds of ozone, which then makes the temperature drop like a rock. Anyway, I may be used to timefall, but that doesn't mean I'm immune to it. Believe me, I am younger than I look. My big bro'd take a lot of pleasure in telling you that if he could see me now. Wow, so people who are like working on corpse disposal, just all of them probably look really old. Ooh, the lake at Ground Zero, 2.5 years ago, by Victor. When I first laid eyes on the lake here at Ground Zero, I was blown away by the sheer size of it. I never imagined anything could be so huge. This was just after the Death Stranding, and not many people had seen the craters up close yet. Back when I was still living with my parents and my brother on the East Coast, an explosion like nothing the world had seen before tore a gaping hole in the heart of America. Oh wow, so the lake is just It's not an ocean. It's a crater in the middle of America. It's just filled with water, and it's as big as an ocean, basically. There were all kinds of rumors floating around at the time. That it was a meteor, that it was a nuke dropped by another country. I was just a kid, but even I could tell the adults didn't have a clue, so you can imagine how I felt. And then we found out there had been other explosions. Not just here in America, but the world over. By the time we learned that they were void outs, and what void outs were, the country was pretty much done. But hey, that was then, and this is now. And things are looking up. I just got told my kid brother's still alive. Word is he's heading up a corpse disposal team in Capital Knot City. Handles his shit well enough to get picked for the second expedition. 3 more years and he'll be out here with me. Can't wait to see him again. Oh, okay, fine. I guess that I am the second expedition. Okay. Alright, to the preppers then. The engineer. From his personal shelter 2 years ago. My horizons aren't exactly broad. That said, I'm not completely cut off from the outside world. I knew what the bridges was and that they were trying to rebuild America, but when you're living down here it's hard to see how that's got anything to do with you and yourself, am I right? My folks holed up in this shelter after the Death Stranding. Had a kid and raised him in their slice of paradise, and together we lived off whatever Fragile Express was kind enough to bring our way. They told me tales about the good old days, but I've never had much of an imagination. Couldn't see how a country long gone was any concern of me and mine. Far as I figured, if Fragile Express was happy to keep bringing us stuff, we didn't need anybody else, and we certainly didn't need America, whatever that even was. But then, one day, I was looking at a part for this machinery my dad put together. He was an engineer too. And I noticed something. It said, "Made in the USA," right there in tiny print. Got me to thinking that America might not exist anymore, but the stuff Americans built is still around, making our lives a little bit easier even now. You could say the old country lives on in its works, kinda like how my folks live on in me. They, died a while back. Anyway, if they were American, I guess that makes me American too, and maybe this shelter a part of it all. Once I realized that, I started pouring my heart into building stuff to help you guys put the country back together. Aw, that's neato.
Delivering cargo. I'm so glad you're here. Holy shit. You sure you brought enough?
Terrorists posing as Fragile Express couriers by the Craftsman 1 year ago. The terrorists have been at it again lately. You heard, right? About how they've been sneaking in and out of cities disguised as Fragile Express couriers. We'll have another disaster on our hands at this rate. But it's not like we can just cut them out. We need Fragile's people to keep on doing what they're doing. We rely on these guys for a lot, though maybe we shouldn't. I hear they're transporting weapons now. Why they'd be so stupid, I can't imagine. Spreading shit around that kills in a world where the dead are ticking BT bombs. Sure, terrorists are a threat, and mules are a royal pain in the ass. But what genius figured that escalation was the way to go when we all know where it leads? We need weapons, no, tools that can take down the bad guys without killing them. And we need the hardware in circulation gone yesterday. We can't keep folks from dying in accidents or getting sick. We can't keep them from dying, period. But the deaths that we can put off, we ought to. Violence isn't just ugly, it's damn near suicidal in this day and age, which is why I'm looking to make a bunch of less than lethal gear in the hopes that it'll prevent a few idiots from getting themselves and others killed. Oh wow, I hadn't even thought about that. We're like just the whole pacifism thing, or like how he only works with like building non-lethal weapons and stuff. Because you can't kill people in this world. Because if you kill someone, that's gonna connect him to a BT, and then it's gonna cause a void out, and like an entire city is just gonna explode and go up in smoke. So you're just like, no, if you kill someone, everyone dies, including you. I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense when you think about it that way.
the world look like hundreds of millions of years ago? There's just one big continent. And do you know what this is? The moon. I'll show you the real thing soon. I promise. The whole wide world will be yours to explore. You'll be able to go wherever you want.